Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA, explained. Part 2. Question time. Exempt computer employees may be paid A. Not less than $455 per week. B. Not less than $27.63 an hour. C. Not less than $23,600 annually. D. None of the above. The answer is B. Exempt computer employees must be compensated either on a salary basis, at a rate not less than $684 per week, or, if compensated on an hourly basis, at a rate not less than $27.63 an hour.
Hey! Be sure to subscribe to this channel. Check out the SHRM-CP, SHRM-SCP, PHR, SPHR, online courses. Also, join our channel membership by clicking on the Join button beside the Subscribe button.
How does the FLSA apply to tipped employees? Tipped employees are individuals engaged in occupations in which they customarily, and regularly, receive more than $30 a month in tips. Employers may consider tips as part of wages, but employers must still pay at least $2.13 an hour in direct wages. An employer who elects to use the tip credit provision must inform the employee in advance, and must be able to show that the employer receives at least the minimum wage, when direct wages and the tip credit claimed are combined. If an employee's tips combined with his or her direct wages of at least $2.13 an hour do not equal the minimum hourly wage, the employer must make up the difference. Also, employees are entitled to keep all of their tips, except to the extent that they participate in a valid tip pooling or sharing arrangement. Employer-furnished facilities. The reasonable cost or fair value of board, lodging, or other facilities customarily furnished by the employer for the employee's benefit may be considered part of wages. Subminimum wage provisions. The FLSA provides for the employment of certain individuals at wage rates below the statutory minimum wage. Such individuals include 1. Student learners, vocational education students. 2. Full-time students in retail or service establishments, agriculture, or institutions of higher education. 3. Individuals whose learning or productive capacity is impaired by a physical or mental disability, including those related to age or injury, for the work to be performed. Employment at less than the minimum wage is authorized to prevent curtailment of opportunities for employment. Such employment is permitted only under certificates issued by WHD. Youth minimum wage. A minimum wage of not less than $4.25 an hour is permitted for employees under 20 years of age during their first 90 consecutive calendar days of employment with an employer. Employers are prohibited from taking any action to displace employees in order to hire employees at the youth minimum wage. Also prohibited are partial displacements, such as reducing employees' hours, wages, or employment benefits. Now for a practice question on minimum wage. Where there is a difference between the minimum wage set at federal and state level, what should the employer do? A. Pay the federal minimum wage. B. Pay the state minimum wage. C. Pay the average of both the federal and state minimum wages. D. The higher wage prevails. The answer is D. In cases where an employee is subject to both state and federal minimum wage laws, the employee is entitled to the higher minimum wage.
We have over 30 resourceful membership videos to enable success in the HR certification exams. PHR, SPHR, SHRM-CP, SHRM-SCP. Be sure to join the membership of this channel. Click on the Join button today.
Now let's look at exemptions from both minimum wage and overtime pay. 1. Executive, administrative, and professional employees, including teachers and academic administrative personnel in elementary and secondary schools, outside sales employees, and employees in certain computer-related occupations. The FLSA provides an exemption from both minimum wage and overtime pay for employees employed as bona fide, executive, administrative, professional, certain computer employees, outside sales employees. To qualify for exemption, employees generally must meet certain tests regarding their job duties, and be paid on a salary basis at not less than $684 per week. Job titles do not determine exempt status. We have a detailed video on these exemptions. Make sure to check it out. Highly compensated employees, performing office or non-manual work, and paid total annual compensation of $107,432 or more, which must include at least $684 per week, paid on a salary or fee basis, are exempt from the FLSA. If they customarily and regularly perform at least one of the duties of an exempt executive, administrative, or professional employee, identified in the standard tests for exemption. Now let's explore another question. Jobs like human resources and benefits management, that often have the primary duties of interpreting and implementing company policies, or making decisions that bind the company to significant business contracts, fall under executive exemption, professional exemption, administrative exemption, learned professional exemption. The answer is C. Jobs like human resources and benefits management fall under the administrative exemption. The FLSA administrative exemption includes the following primary duties: office or non-manual work directly related to business operations or management, exercise of independent judgment and discretion, support production or line employees that keep the business running, without engaging in the production or sales of the actual product or service of the business.
Hey! Be sure to subscribe to this channel. Check out the SHRM-CP, SHRM-SCP, PHR, SPHR, online courses. Also, join our channel membership by clicking on the Join button beside the subscribe button.
Now, back to jobs that are exempt from both minimum wage and overtime pay. 2. Employees of certain seasonal amusement or recreational establishments, employees of certain small newspapers, seamen employed on foreign vessels, employees engaged in fishing operations, and employees engaged in newspaper delivery. 3. Farm workers employed by anyone who used no more than 500 man-days of farm labor in any calendar quarter of the preceding calendar year. 4. Casual babysitters and persons employed as companions to the elderly or infirm. Now, to jobs that have exemptions from overtime pay only. 1. Certain commissioned employees of retail or service establishments, auto, truck, trailer, farm implement, boat, or aircraft sales workers. Or parts clerks and mechanics servicing autos, trucks, or farm implements, who are employed by non-manufacturing establishments, primarily engaged in selling these items to ultimate purchasers. 2. Employees of railroads and air carriers, taxi drivers, certain employees of motor carriers, seamen on American vessels, and local delivery employees paid on approved trip rate plans. 3. Announcers, news editors, and chief engineers of certain non-metropolitan broadcasting stations. 4. Domestic service workers living in the employer's residence. 5. Employees of motion picture theaters. 6. Farm workers. Now to jobs that have partial exemptions from overtime pay. 1. Partial overtime pay exemptions apply to employees engaged in certain operations on agricultural commodities, and to employees of certain bulk petroleum distributors. 2. Hospitals and residential care establishments may adopt, by agreement with their employees, a 14-day work period, instead of the usual 7-day workweek, if the employees are paid at least time and one-half their regular rates, for hours worked over 8 in a day, or 80 in a 14-day work period, whichever is the greater number of overtime hours. 3. Employees who lack a high school diploma, or who have not attained the educational level of the 8th grade, can be required to spend up to 10 hours in a workweek, engaged in remedial reading, or training in other basic skills, without receiving time and one-half overtime pay, for these hours. However, the employees must receive their normal wages for hours spent in such training, and the training must not be job-specific. 4. Public agency fire departments and police departments may establish a work period ranging from 7 to 28 days, in which overtime need only be paid after a specified number of hours, in each work period. All right? Ready for a practice question. The salary basis test is used to determine A. Pay status, B. Leave status, C. Sub-minimum wage status, D. FLSA exemption status. The answer is D. The salary basis test is used to determine exemption status based on pay. It requires that exempt employees receive a predetermined amount of payment on a regularly set schedule, not less than $684 per week. That the employee's compensation cannot be reduced because of variations in the quantity or quality of work. That the employee must be paid a full salary for a week in which any work is performed. Under Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA, regulations, how is a bank professional who works 35 hours per week, and is paid $23,660 a year, classified? A. Non-exempt, B. Learned professional exempt, C. Administrative exempt, D. Creative professional exempt. The answer is A. The bank professional is non-exempt based on her salary. Note that from January 1, 2020, the current minimum salary level for exempt employees has been raised from $455 per week or $23,660 annually, to $684 per week or $35,568 annually. Jesseloba has a piecework job that pays $1.50 per piece. Although she usually works only 35 hours per week, last week she worked 50 hours, and produced 500 pieces. She also received a $75 bonus for high-quality work. What are her weekly earnings? $825, $907.50, $890, $910. The answer is B. Because Jesseloba's bonus is non-discretionary, it has to be included in calculating her overtime pay. 1.50 times 500 equals 750. 750 plus 75, bonus, equals 825. 825 divided by 50 hours equals 16.5, regular rate. 16.5 divided by 2 equals 8.25, half of regular rate. 8.25 multiplied by 10 hours equals 82.5. 825 plus 82.5 equals $907.50. Any hours worked over 40 must be paid overtime, which is time and half. If the Thessalonica organization mistakenly made deductions from 15 exempt employees' pay. Under the safe harbor provision of the Fair Labor Standards Act, what must the Thessalonica organization do? A. Communicate to the exempt employees about the deductions in written form. B. Reimburses time and half to the employees for the improper deductions. C. Create a policy on procedural justice and distributive justice in pay. D. None of the above. The answer is D. A safe harbor provision states that if an employer 1. has a clearly communicated policy prohibiting improper deductions, and including a complaint mechanism. 2. Reimburses employees for any improper deductions. And 3. Makes a good faith commitment to comply in the future, the employer will not lose the exemption for any employees, unless the employer willfully violates the policy, by continuing the improper deductions, after receiving employee complaints.
We have over 30 resourceful membership videos to enable success in the HR certification exams. PHR, SPHR, SHRM-CP, SHRM-SCP. Be sure to join the membership of this channel. Click on the Join button today. Thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe, like, and join our membership.